Hi guys, Miss Wallace here. Today we're going to be creating some digital mosaic vector art. Before we get started, some of you might remember or being in a lesson with me last year when we created just normal vector art, which is a digital version of something real. A lot of people start with a real photograph and then create it from there. So if you look closely at this real picture of this person, and then over here, it's almost like a cartoon version, but they've done this using programs like Google Draw, which we're going to use today, and they've just drawn shapes to show like where the light are highlighted and the shadows. So this person's portrait is just a collection of shapes layered on top of each other and using different shades and highlights. So that's really cool. So those of you who were with me last year, we did that. It could get kind of tedious, especially if you're doing a human picture of or a self-portrait. Today we're going to be creating digital mosaic vector art. And right here where I'm circling, this is kind of what I mean when we talk about mosaic. And mosaic just basically means something made up of tiny pieces. Sometimes those might all be the same shape. You could make up a mosaic of just squares or circles, or you can vary your shape. So here in this example of a mosaic layout, there's a variety of shapes. To the left of that is an example I created of a lion. You can see the original photo that I started with. So this was made from a real photograph, and then using layers in Google Draw, I overlaid that photograph with different shapes. And I didn't use the same type of shape. Lots of triangles, um, some other just random shapes, and just filled them in with different colors. So you don't have to choose colors. They're just browns and blacks like the lion. I could have decided to make this lion hot pink and green, but decided to kind of stick to those warm color families like you might see, but gave it a little bit of an edge. And then we added the black background. So you're going to create your own digital mosaic piece of art. And one of the cool things about this is that we can enter this into the DPOJ contest for STLP state competition, because one of the categories is a manipulated image. And I'm going to do a separate video over the rubrics and different categories for STLP DPOJ, but one of the options we will definitely do is this manipulated image. So this is not going to go into digital art like I mentioned before. This will be the manipulated image. So a couple of other examples. If I scroll down here, these I did not do. Someone else created these, but I thought it was really cool because both the horse and the bear, they have the same color scheme, the same patterns that the artist chose to use, but it looks like a horse and it looks like a bear. But we know those animals aren't rainbow colored, but it just works. So it was really cool. They used random shapes. There's not a lot of space between those shapes, not a lot of black, so that's going to be important. And it just looks really cool. One thing I will point out, if you look at this horse's legs and the bear's legs, in the picture, they are next to each other. There's no space between the legs. So to get around that, so it didn't look like a big blob of legs lumped together, the back leg here uses darker colors and the one in front is lighter. So there is still contrast there, and you can see the line of where those two things become separate legs. The same thing with the polar bear. This back leg here uses bigger and a little bit lighter shapes. So there are ways to get around that. Notice the nose and eyes are black. So that's what we're going to do today too. And on my line here, I did the ears, the eyes, and the nose and the mouth black. And that kind of helps it. You can try to create the eyes and mouth, a different way if you want. Let me know. We'll see how that goes. But I chose to make mine black. I thought the hamburger was super cool. For those of you who want to try a little something different, I loved this. I'm assuming it's a self-portrait. I would love for some of you to try self-portrait by just taking your photograph with your Chromebook or using one you already have. We can definitely see that whoever created this played with lights and shadows. So we have darker shapes and colors over here, and it gives the appearance of light coming in. So I thought that was really cool. And then this one, not sure what this is from, but I liked it. I liked the back. They did a background mosaic as well, and definitely a contrast from the skin. And then this one was a famous piece of artwork. And so they just manipulated that image and created their own version. But, there was a famous artist who created this. So we aren't saying it's our total original work, but we're manipulating it to kind of give it our own spin. So that's the category that we are going to be entering these in. Before we get started, I will show you in my Google Drive, and I've posted this to our Google Classroom, all the rubrics for DPOJ. And we are looking for manipulated image because I like to always, if I can find it, always look at rubrics before I start something. I don't want to finish a project, go read the rubric and realize, well, shoot, I didn't do that part. So I'm going to read the rubric first. I feel like that's a smart way to go. Kind of like you read test questions before you read the passage. All right, so I'm going to scroll up here. It says, I get 5 points just if my piece can be opened easily by the judge. Awesome. I will make sure of that for sure. All sources are cited completely and copyrighted material is identified and used with permission. We're going to talk about that today. That's important. And then, so I want to, if I use a famous piece of art, I need to cite, who created that piece of artwork and where did I get it? Now down here is these lower categories are actually about the artistic process and the project, how it turns out itself. So creative communication, the piece stands out as unique and original. Maybe doing a famous artwork is not a good idea. Maybe I need to do something that isn't famous, something nobody else is doing. That hamburger is kind of cool, but even more unique is that self-portrait. I really like that one. Very unique. So you can get up to 5 points for that. So be as unique as possible. The image or design catches and maintains the viewer's interest. So do they like looking at it, or are they just kind of like, and move on? Really grab their attention. Make them really want to stare at your project. That's big. Visual impact. Color and image support the mood. Okay. This can be tricky sometimes. If I wanted my lion to seem fierce, maybe I could even use darker colors, menacing, and if I wanted to have a little more happy, lighthearted mood, I could do like pinks and yellows and, all of that. So, color choice can definitely create a mood, and so can your shapes. How you tilt the mouth and the eyes can create a different mood. Let's see. And then the last thing, student-made document completely explains the process and steps in creating the piece. Oh, and judges can access this. This is equal to, if not more important than the project you create. I've had kids who create awesome stuff, and then they gave me this like 1 or 2 sentence blurb that didn't talk about the process at all. There was no effort there. And I can tell you, as someone who judges some of these, that's not what we want to see. The effort needs to go on. You need to explain exactly how you did this. How did you choose your picture? How did you make your decision? Did you make mistakes? How did you overcome them? How did you learn how to use Google Draw? Okay. How did you get around, when 2 legs are together and you need to make them seem separate? Did you use the light colors and dark? So you need to explain all of that into a pretty lengthy, at least a pretty heavily weighted paragraph at least. And then we put your project and your paragraph together in one document. You could use docs or slides, whatever you want to do. And we turn in one link to the judges. So we'll talk more about that later as well. So that's our rubric. We know what we need to do. Now we're going to go create our own Google Draw of a digital mosaic vector art. So first thing, we need a picture, right? If I'm not going to take a picture of myself, which I might try later, if I'm going to get one from the internet, I could go, right? And I could Google pig pictures, right? Let's see. Ooh, and then I change my search to images. And look at all these pig images, right? I could just take any of them I want to use. No, some of these are owned by people, professional photographers. We don't have permission to use all of these. The problem is, which ones do we have permission and which ones do we not have permission? I don't know. So I'm not even going to go there. I'm not going to use Google, right? There is a Google image search that does give you copyright free. But today I wanted to share a site with you called Pixabay. And Pixabay is one of several sources where you can search for copyright-free images. Just like when you do a project for school, you don't want to go copy everything from a website and paste it on your doc and turn it in as your work. That's plagiarism, right? We can't do that. That's stealing. So we need to search for things we have permission. So I'm going to search for pig and hit enter. And I have plenty of choices, right? Lots and lots of pig pictures, but all of these, I don't have to worry. I'm being a good digital citizen because I know I have permission to use these. I'm not stealing from anybody. So that makes me feel a lot better. All right, plus in our DPOJ entry, we cannot use copyrighted images without permission. I think I'm going to try this one here. I like this picture because this pig is looking head on at me. So I think it's going to come out really nicely. So I could screenshot this here. I could also click to download it. You know, you could click over here to download. I'm going to do a quick screenshot because it's faster. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to cut just the square that I need. Copy to my clipboard, and I'm now going to go paste that in a Google Draw template. So I'm going to go over here and hit my plus tab for a new screen. If you don't know how to get to Google Draw, some people are over here looking. What we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead to my Google Drive, and over here I'm going to select the new button, and it doesn't come up at first, but if I hit more and more, Google Drawings is one of my options. So I'm going to pop that up. There we go. And the first thing that you should get in the habit of doing is naming your project. So many times we forget to name our project, and when we're done, we don't do it, and then we can never find the thing. So I'm going to name this, I need my name in it somewhere, but I'm going to put that last. Pig, because that'll be the first word, and it'll be easy for me to find. Pig digital mosaic vector art, or I could just say digital mosaic art. And I'm going to go ahead and put Erin Wallace, just so it's in my title. Actually, I'm going to get rid of my Wallace. I'm just going to do Erin W. So that's ready to turn into the judges because we don't want last names. All right. Now I'm going to paste my pig onto this checkerboard background. Our checkerboard background is not going to show up in our final project. I need this pig about as big as I can get it. So I'm going to fill the entire screen. So I'm going to use my corner to drag and enlarge. I'm never going to use these sides or the middle bottoms, am I? Because look what happens. Yuck. No, I'm going to undo that. You want to do your corners so everything stays looking good, right? Right proportions, nothing's out of whack. I'm going to kind of center him. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom way in. I'm going to zoom in to about 200. And to do that, I'm going to come over here, drop down that. I'm going to choose 200. And you might think, well, gosh, it's not on the screen. How am I going to do that? Well, I'll scroll up and down, but by being zoomed in, I can really get pretty detailed in how I'm going to add my shapes. Okay, so the first thing we do is we're going to choose our line tool. And if you remember from last year, it's our polyline. And up here where you see this little stick connected with dots, you drop that down. And if you saw, it said select line. And I'm going to come down and choose Polyline. So that's a cool tool, Polyline. That's the only one we're going to use today. There's others you can play with, but we're going to use Polylines. So I'm going to start at the very top. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click at the top point. And then I'm going to just move my cursor and go to my next point. Click, click. And I'm going to get this white portion. Okay, and there's my first shape. All right, there you go, right? So then I need to change it to the color I want, and I need to get rid of this black border. So to get rid of the border, you're going to click on this pencil here, and it's black right now, and I'm going to change that to transparent because I don't want a black border. The next thing I'm going to do is I don't want this to be light blue. I'm going to go ahead and fill it any color I choose. Now what you can do if you want, like if you think about how I did the lion, I kind of kept it symmetrical, like on this side, the left of his eye is orange, the right of his eye is orange. I try to do similar shapes, like if you cut that line down in the middle and fold it together, it kind of mirrored each other. So you can do, I could do this part of the ear, and then I could come over here and do this ear and do both of those colors the same. Or I could go ahead and do all my shapes and then go in and fill the colors in later. It's completely up to you. I'm going to go ahead and fill this one in, and I think I'm going to make it, it was light to begin with. I'll make it this light pink color. Okay? And so I'm going to keep doing that on the top of this pig's ears and kind of try to mimic and have them a little bit symmetrical. Paying attention to lights and shadows as I go. So I'm going to select polyline, and once you get going, you don't have to keep selecting the polyline. So I'm going to move pretty quickly. There's a natural fold of his ear there, so I'm going to make that a different shape. And I'm going to do that transparent and fill that one pink as well. Notice I do not have to choose polyline again. I'm going to go ahead and make my own shape within this ear. Stay in transparent for me, and I'm going to fill that in a little bit darker, a little coral color. I'm going to come over here and do this. Notice I am not using or leaving a ton of space between my different shapes, and that one automatically filled for me the same coral color. So when you want to change, you can just do that. You can have some next to each other that are the same. Okay, I'm going to change this one to, let's do purple. Why not, right? Okay, do some purples over here. My shapes are not going to be exactly the same on each side, and they're not perfect at all. And that's okay. There we go. And I'm not going to do this whole pig today while we're recording. All right. So there are my ears, right? And they're kind of symmetrical on each side. So then I'm going to kind of tackle this head portion up here. And again, I'm going to cut this all white front. I'm going to cut that into pieces. Okay, I'm going to kind of stick to some lighter colors. My pig has he's kind of unfolding he or she to be a pink and purpley pig. Didn't even know that was going to happen. Let's use some different. And you know, you can always use your undo tool if you find a shape later that isn't working or you need to make it bigger. Okay. And you can always come over and change your zoom to have a look and see how it's going. So you can kind of see the pig starting to take shape. When I do remove the actual picture behind, it's going to look like a little pig. It's just going to be a digital mosaic version. Okay, let's see. Oopsie. Okay, so see what happened there? With my line is attached and won't let go. Just come over here and click this arrow, and that undoes that. And you can start over. You can come and grab your polyline tool again. That happens every once in a while. Okay. And he's got a little bit of a shadow over his eye, and I'm going to do that darker in a minute. Okay, see how that part of his eyebrow is a little darker? I'm going to kind of try to keep that scheme going, and even here is a little bit darker. So you can see I'm making up shapes as I go along. This one I might do the exact same color. And then down here is a little bit darker. So some of your shapes, to make this pretty realistic, you might need to make pretty small. See, you want to keep those natural markings and attributes. And then this is kind of a little crescent shape here of color. Do that one a little bit lighter. And then this one even a little bit lighter. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the eye over here. If you notice, it already is black, but I'm going to go ahead and fill the entire thing black. Okay. Now on some of these over here, I had forgotten to, let me go get my select tool. I'm going to select and I'm going to get rid of that border. So I need to go and select these and turn that again into transparent. And after I finish this, we're going to go over the steps that you need to go through when you're finished. And then I'll finish my little piggy up here later. Almost done making these transparent. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom out. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and go through the steps. If I had completely finished my pig, I'm going to go through the steps of what I would do to complete this project. It's going to look a little funny because he's half done, but you get the idea. I will tell you that, see how his head, we do want that head. If I'm going to do the body, I didn't do the body of my lion, but if I want to include the body, I need some sort of contrast between the head and the body. The body parts naturally are a little bit darker, so that could be how I do that. I leave my head a little bit on a lighter scale and then the body a little bit darker. So I'll let you experiment with that on your own project. When you're ready to finish and get rid of the actual pig, once you're done with your shapes, you're going to come, you're on select, you're going to just click on the picture itself. And you'll see how I have that whole picture selected, and we're going to delete it. And it's not going to delete our shapes. So I select the pig picture, the image I started with, and I hit delete. All right. So what you will be left with are all of your shapes that you pictured. Now we need a background because we don't want this checkerboard background. I like to use black. You can also experiment with white or different colors. So the first thing I'm going to do is insert a shape. So I'm going to come up here where my shape icon is. And I'm going to choose the first option, and I'm going to choose that first square. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this square as big as my whole checkerboard. Okay. My pig disappeared, right? We're going to fix that. I'm going to go ahead and choose the color I want. Fill color is, I'm going to choose black. And then I'm going to right click or two finger click on the black, and I'm going to come down here to order. And I need to send that to the back. So I need to move my screen capture. Okay, order is not send backward. We're going to send to the very, very back. So I need to choose send back. And there we go. So what you will be left with is your image on a black background. So you can also come in here and experiment with white or whatever you want to do. Okay. On mine, I included the original work. You don't have to do that on your entries, but you can if you want to show me what your original picture was. I included my original lion right there. And then we can remove it before we enter it. Okay. So if you want that to be entered, remember you're going to have to go to that rubric and you have to do include a document explaining your process. Okay, so then once you're done with your pig, you're going to turn it into me in the STLP classroom under classwork, and it is digital mosaic vector art, and you will submit it there. Okay, and I look forward to seeing those. Can't wait. You all always impress me. Your Google Doodles were awesome. And the next thing that we're going to be doing, I have a couple other digital art things I want to try with you guys, some new things I've seen, and we're also going to be making infographics soon. So I hope you enjoyed this. I can't wait to see what you create.